Patrick, Gavin, POLITICO. It is now time to turn the table with Fox News' Chris Wallace. Chris, let's play that classic Washington parlay game, which is give us your winners and losers from the recent government shutdown.
Well, look, it's pretty obvious. I'm not going to say anything terribly surprising. I think you have to say, first of all, nobody won. Washington looks ridiculous. And the anger with this entire town and all of the politicians has only increased to the degree that you have to pick. I think you'd say the president. He said he wasn't going to negotiate, and they gave up almost nothing, just this income verification, which is certainly not what the opponents of Obamacare were asking for. The loser, obviously the Republican Party, taking a huge hit, and the fact that you have Mitch McConnell now saying there's no education and the second kick from a mule, and we're not going to put the country or the Republican Party through this again. They know how badly they were hurt. Ted Cruz, I think you could argue it both ways. On the one hand, he has tremendously alienated himself among the Senate Republican club on Capitol Hill, but I think to a large degree he's playing an outside game, and there are a lot of people who hate Obamacare who think now he's the only one in this town who has the guts to stand up and fight for their principles. So, depending on where you look at it, he's a winner and a loser.
The president, when he gave his remarks at the end of the shutdown, was asked on his way out, are we just going to do this again in 2 more months? And he gave kind of a surprising answer, which was an emphatic no, which I think a lot of people in D.C. might take question with. Do you think that in a couple of months we're just going to go through this all over again, or has this changed the political landscape down the line?
Well, as I said, Mitch McConnell says, no second kick of a mule. I don't think that they're going to shut the government down again over this. Do I think they're going to get a deal? No. Or I think it's unlikely that they'll get a deal, so there'll be some short-term fix that keeps it going. But I would be surprised, because I think the Republicans realize that they took a tremendous hit. And look, they had hopes going into 2014 that they were going to confidence they'd hold on to the House and a better than even chance of taking the Senate. Now I think their feeling is they're long shots to take the Senate, and the House is back in jeopardy. So I don't think they want to go through this again.
I think one of the reasons why some people think that the president did come out a winner out of the government shutdown is that had the shutdown not happened, everybody would have been focused on the massive sort of glitch in the rollout of the health care plan. They're being a little bit sheepish in talking about that. What do you expect to hear? I mean, that's been, by all estimations, a big failure. What do you expect to see with regards to that, and also in terms of the Obama administration's messaging about what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how they're going to fix it?
I can tell you that when the president met with Senate Republicans late last week, he actually brought it up, and he said, he kind of teased them and said, I'll bet you're sorry now that you shut down the government, because otherwise they'd all be focusing on Obamacare.
Right.
He knows it's been a mess. Look, messaging isn't the problem here. The problem is the system has got to work. You can't spin your way out of this. And, there was an example this week where there was a report that about a woman who had problems and what had happened to her premiums in Delaware, but they wouldn't give out her name. And reporters were able to find out her name. Why? Because she was the only person in the entire state of Delaware who had successfully signed up for Obamacare. Until you solve that problem, you can message till the cows come home. It isn't going to do any good.
All right, Chris, tell us about your program this Sunday.
Well, we're going to be talking to Marco Rubio, who was one of the Tea Party group, along with Ted Cruz and Mike Lee, who was pushing for major changes in Obamacare, one of the 18 Senate Republicans who voted against this deal. We'll talk to him about that. We'll also talk to him about Obamacare. Then, of course, we're going to have this effort to try to reach, whether it's a grand compromise or a down payment. Those are the two phrases that are being used on the budget. We'll be talking to Roy Blunt and Dick Durbin. And then, and we're kind of interested in this, Michael Needham, the 31-year-old head of Heritage Action. There was a key moment on Tuesday this week when John Boehner said, I want House Republicans to do this. Heritage and Michael Needham said, no, don't do that. And enough Republicans sided with Needham over their own speaker that the speaker had to pull the final effort to get something through the House. We'll talk to Michael Needham on Sunday.
That's a great lineup. Chris Wallace with Fox News Sunday. Thanks a lot for joining us.
You bet. Thank you, Patrick.